trying to do schedules this time. Last time we talked a little bit about recruiting, and the next set of stuff I might do is potentially like position changes and stuff like that. Because to me, that's one of the most important things in the Dynasty. I have some things in the works for that. But schedules right now is something that I want to talk about because I think that no one puts videos out on this kind of stuff. And maybe it's not beneficial. I don't know. But maybe for some people it is. So I want to show you guys. Again, I'm in an online dynasty with 5 other people. This is to varying degrees of success. You know, we went 5-7 the first 2 years and 8-5 last year. And some things that I've learned in scheduling and, you know, from seeing things from some of the other people's perspective. Like I said, this is going into year 4. These are some of our users and the teams, and we have everyone has a channel that we're trying to stream this out and see what we can make of it. But what some of the things that I've seen from schedules, so I'll show you what my schedule is going to look like this year. We got UNLV, Stanford, Charlotte, Tennessee, Kansas, okay? And what I'm going to do with this is I am going to explain a little bit, and then I may advance it as well just to kind of prove a point as to what's going on with this. So the reason why I picked UNLV, if you can see their 2026 record, they were 11-3 and 7-1 in conference. They were pushing for a playoff spot, as well as we had some teams pushing for a playoff spot. So I want to try and eliminate that. And the same thing, Charlotte's usually ranked, and they're usually pushing for playoff spots. So I want to see if I can get some of these teams out of the way for the MAC to have maybe a couple of playoff spots. Stanford, I believe they won the conference, the Big Ten, I want to say is what they won. No, they won the ACC, excuse me. And so they got into the playoff last year. And so that was a shock to everyone in the Dynasty. And so we scheduled them. We scheduled Tennessee. I just felt like that was for whatever reason, it was a team that I played in past Dynasty. I still have some hard feelings. And then as a Georgia fan, obviously, I'd love to go into Neyland and beat them. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Kansas. Kansas is another team that I put on the schedule. Even though the record isn't that great, I feel like it's a team that there's potential for them to be possibly ranked and be pretty good. And so out of the teams that were left, that was certainly one that I thought made sense. The reason why I did that, though, right, because we had a bunch of different schedules and everything else with scheduling 5 different users. So some people took, you know, some other teams. We had a lot of people take ranked teams. I think Coach Joey Freshwater from Central Michigan, he played Colorado State, so that took another one of those possible playoff teams away. And then we had some teams who scheduled only ranked teams. Some teams like Coach Garth Brooks from Buffalo scheduled Temple because that's his rival. So even though they're not a good football team, that's what he's got. I say until you get that coaching skill tree goal open with 4 rivalry games, I say schedule rivals for 4 years, 6 years, whatever it takes to unlock that. I say do it. Why not? And then if you don't want to play your rival anymore, then don't. But I think you get a little more XP and things like that from playing rivals. So I'm a big fan of playing rivals. Akron, unfortunately, our only rival is Kent State, and so it's just, do they put them on the schedule in the conference or not? They didn't put them on my schedule this year, so I don't get to play my rival, which is a bummer to me, but it is what it is. So why did I pick, the first team I picked was UNLV. Why did I pick UNLV? I told you about the playoff implications. I told you, or I want to show you as well, though, they're ranked 28th. So it's basically like, you can look at this a few different ways. You can see the current media poll rank where they are 28th. You can also go to the media poll section after you tab over, and it will show you others receiving votes. And what you'll find is, in this one, for example, Central Florida is 26th. And it shows 26. For whatever reason, it shows the top 25 and 26, even though they're not technically ranked. And it shows them as receiving the most votes in the 26th spot. So I don't know if they did that just to kind of indicate, okay, hey, this is how it works. Because on the old game, they used to have championship contender that you could actually go to without going into recruiting, and it would just show everybody. And you could sort it even by later years and other stuff, I think. But they didn't do that in this one. They just gave us the media poll ranking, But if you go look, then they're receiving votes. So Central Florida is 26. There's another team receiving votes, and then UNLV's receiving votes. So with Akron being, I think you guys, maybe y'all saw when I looked at it at first, I don't know, I think we're like 71st or something like that. So we're playing against a team that's almost a top 25 team, and you see they are 78 overall, 77, 79. One thing I want to caution you, though, is when you look at this, that is not accurate, okay? So the reason why I want to make a point of that is because I will show you guys after I advance it. I hope everyone's readied up. After I advance it, then you will see those numbers potentially change. They don't always change, but sometimes they do. So we're playing a team, like I said, this is a top 30 team pushing a ranked team in week 1 that we're hoping to beat so that we can jump up a little bit in our stuff, in our championship contender and our media poll rank, so that we can try and get ranked in the top 25, hopefully before we start conference play, but at least at some point this season, because I'd love to make the playoffs if possible. So another team, I'll go to Tennessee since they're right here, and then we'll work our way to Stanford. That makes more sense than me just picking out in order. So Tennessee right now, they are ranked 6th. They are 87, 89, 87. This is the biggest question mark on my schedule, I think, outside of playing the users at the bottom. But this is the biggest non-conference one, because they have some very athletic guys in the secondary, and I feel like they have some pretty athletic skill players as well. So I'm very interested to see how that goes. But they are my toughest test. But like I said, you see 87, 89, 87, and they're ranked 6th. So, and I feel like they're pretty safe to play in week 4, because they could lose a game, possibly even 2, and still be in the top 25. So that's another reason why I like to play people who are, nearing 1, possibly receiving maybe first place votes and things like that, is you have the opportunity to potentially like them lose and you still play a ranked team later on, which I think is very important. So that's the reason why I'd rather play them possibly in week 4 or 6 or something like that, rather than play them in week 1. Now, the reason why I'm playing Stanford in week 2 is because right now you see they are 86, 85, 87. Well, I have a very strong feeling when we advance, they're going to go down to like an 83, maybe an 82, because how you know that is you just look at their roster. So remember, they're an 86, 85, 87, and I will go check out their roster in a minute. I'll try and remember that as well. They are ranked 9th, okay? And I believe the last team that I picked to play is Charlotte. And like I said, just to make a note to show, Charlotte is ranked 30th right now, so they may be receiving a few votes or something like that. They're 78, 77, 79. And so that's kind of where that went. And then I skipped over Kansas. I'll run to them real quick, but they're in the 30s as well, I believe. I hope not, they're in the 40s. So 44, they're in 82, 84, 81. If they win a few games, maybe they'll be ranked. If not, then I still think it will be an okay game for us to play. And so we'll give them a shot and see what that's like. But that's how you check, what are these teams ranked that you're playing against? Because you want to play teams that are ahead of you. I don't think there's any benefit to playing teams that are behind you unless they're your rival. Because if you lose, it's only going to drop you more. So I'd rather just lose to a team that's ahead of me and say, okay, well, at least I went 3-2 against teams that are ahead of me, and maybe it pushed me up a little bit. Now, if you say, well, I don't think I can beat a certain team, then don't schedule Alabama. Don't schedule teams that you think you can beat. And so, like, for example, for us, the team that I looked at and I said, hopefully we can beat Stanford. Okay? And Stanford is, like I said, I told you, I think they're like a 86, 85, 87. Okay? Well, they have a good middle linebacker, a decent right guard, and like they have decent interior linemen and some linebackers. But you see very quickly, like they are into the 84s on the first screen. Okay? So they have very few upper 80s. It almost goes to mid 80s outside of 290s. They got an 82 quarterback, 84 running back. I'm saying all this, I'm talking trash, and they're probably going to mess around and beat me. They don't have a receiver who is an 80. They have an 84 tight end. They barely have, like, from what I remember, so they got decent guards. And we'll see what they do with their depth chart, but they had an 80 left tackle, 81 center, 83 right tackle. None of that's just blowing you away. Again, defensive line, not blowing you away. Nobody's better than an 83. They have pretty good linebackers. That's the one thing that I'm like, all right, this team's kind of tough. But then they don't have very fast corners. They don't have just blow you away corners. Again, 82s. And so I would be very shocked if this team is actually an 86 when the season starts. We'll see. Free safety 79. I didn't look at their depth chart or anything like that to see. But we'll see what actually happens with them because, again, the reason why I put them at second, I have a feeling they may lose if I try and put them too far back. And I want to play them when they're 9 if I can. And I think that they're going to go down in overall. So that's some things that I think are worth considering when you do custom schedules. It's who's beating you out for the playoffs. Well, then play them because Charlotte seems to be good in every dynasty I've been in so far. I don't understand, but something Charlotte does makes them very competitive and gets them ranked. So play Charlotte. Play, any team that you see, UNLV or San Diego State or Colorado State or somebody, any team that you see that's pretty high up in the media poll, go play them and beat them and take them out of playoff contention. Play teams that are ahead of you. Don't play teams that are behind you. Don't play week 0 games. Something that I did want to say, and I think there's a benefit to playing week 0 games. I think that in the online dynasty against other people, I played a week 0 game in the first year. I would do that again only because it's a little head start on XP, so you might possibly get more tokens to spend on your coaching like skill tree, archetype, architect, whatever that thing is, that was the skill tree. I assume maybe it's still a skill tree. I can't remember what they call the stupid thing. And I did that, I think, in the recruiting video as well. I don't remember what that thing's called, but go spend it in your coaching XP stuff. A week 0 that game there might be beneficial because you get to play before everybody else. You get tokens before everybody else. You might get some upgrades before everybody else. So that's a plus. And you may want to consider that maybe before you're spending like recruiting points and things like that. And then you spend recruiting points after or something. I don't know. But week 0, I think after the first year makes a lot less sense for every year after because I have not found if I were to go play Clemson's number 2 in this dynasty, if I were to go play Clemson week 0, I don't think Clemson would drop very far if I beat them. And I don't think I would go up very far for beating them in week 0 because week 0 is weird. Not a lot of teams play, so there's so little movement in the media poll because of that. So I would recommend not playing week 0 games unless it's year 1 and you're trying to get the coaching XP. Like for us, we had it set on fastest. So it was pretty easy to probably level up at the very beginning. Now we're not leveling up and there's no benefit to it from a schedule standpoint. Everyone's trying to make the playoffs a little more. So that's something I would say about week 0 games. And then, like I said, so much stuff is locked as well that you can't really change. So that's kind of like my spiel on scheduling is you want to schedule teams ahead of you. You only want to schedule week 0 if it's maybe year 1. And something that we try to do, like you saw I'm playing Tennessee at Tennessee, I like to keep it a little more realistic, so that's why I told the guys in this dynasty, look, we want to play teams that are like Akron's not going to convince Tennessee or Georgia or someone to come to Akron and play, right? Like we're going to have to go there and play, and that's just realistic. There are times where some power teams come play us. Let's see, I'm trying to remember how to see what Stanford looks like. Maybe this way. There are times where some teams will come play you. Looks like they stayed put. Shocker to me. Let's see. I'm trying to find if there's another good example. I'm looking at it, and let's see. I don't know if Tennessee moved. I can look at that. Because I have seen it drop before, and I'll give you a prime example, and I don't know, it may change. I think they were 83 or 84 or something like that, so they went up. So maybe I just lowballed what they would actually do with them having a couple of 90s. I don't know. But I'm very shocked that they stayed the same. I'm trying to see. I think they went down from a 93. So I think some of these teams maybe changed a little bit. I think they might have went up. I'm not positive. I can't remember, like I said, all the numbers, but It's bad that my example of Stanford didn't seem to move much, but it is what it is. What the heck just happened to the schedules? It has Buffalo playing Notre Dame. I'll have to figure that out later because it just screwed up schedules. I don't know what just happened. But anyways, back to this. So the recruiting, I lost my train of thought. That really has me messed up because that's not the way that schedule was supposed to be. It just did something outrageous with the schedules. But week 0 games not beneficial from what I've seen. And those ratings can change. So go check the team rosters after you've kind of put together a schedule a little bit. We try to play teams, like we're not going to have Alabama come play at Akron. We'll go play at Alabama. So we try to keep it a little more reasonable for that. We'll get Charlotte or somebody to come to Akron, and we'll go to the bigger teams. And that's what we did. If it's like a Power 5 team that's kind of like iffy, like maybe a Purdue, for example, like maybe you could get Purdue to come to a MAC school from time to time. But sometimes, like if you want to do home and homes and stuff, it's just how realistic you want to make your scheduling. Because, of course, you can schedule everyone at home and try and go win games. So it's how you want to do your scheduling. I prefer to make it a little more realistic, and so I won't do those things. But you can certainly say, all right, we're going to play 4 non-conference home games. We're going to try and win every single one of them and try and make the playoffs and do that. That's up to you. But those are some things that I've seen in scheduling, and like I said, I don't feel like there's been too many videos out on that. So that's some things that I look for, and it's very basic stuff, but I feel like it's some stuff that people don't do as much, is check out their rankings beforehand, check out their rosters beforehand, and then know what's going on with the week 0 stuff. If you do those kind of things, I think that would make your scheduling much more beneficial. Again, you don't know the future, so you can only go based off the numbers you have. But the numbers tell you, let's probably not play Liberty, who's 121st in the country, when we're 57th. Like, it doesn't seem like Liberty's going to close the gap, so it's probably not a beneficial game. Let's go play Charlotte, who's 35th, maybe, and we get some benefit and we can move up from that, right? So just some food for thought for you guys. And yeah, next one will be about position changes. I think we got some good stuff and some more like numbers driven stuff for you guys than the first 2, the one on recruiting and this one was. But I'm just trying to get started and get some stuff out there. If you got anything else that's helpful in scheduling, throw it in there. I'd love to hear it. And then I got to go figure out what the heck's going on with Buffalo's schedule because the computer has jacked it up. I clicked to save it, and I don't know what happened. So I got to look into this. But anyways, we'll catch y'all in the next one, and we'll see about some position changes and maybe some ways that you guys can, I can help you guys with some physical traits and thresholds and things to look for in that. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in position change.